Your home is supposed to be your place of peace, but for residents in the Woodstock neighborhood in Virginia Beach, their homes have been everything but. Residents believe a sound wall would provide relief from the noise from Interstate 64. 10 on your side's Markeshia Jackson tells us about the decades-long issue. Markeshia?
Lena, the Woodstock neighborhood appears to be the only stretch along their portion of I-64 without a sound wall. That, coupled with the noise, is why residents have been pushing to get one constructed, taking their concerns to the city, state, and federal levels. So far, to no avail, but that could soon change.
I've heard cars and particularly motorcycles racing down the highway, and my fear is what happens when somebody pops over the highway.
Driscoll Court residents in the Woodstock neighborhood of Virginia Beach all share a similar story. They can't deal with this noise from I-64 any longer.
And for our safety, well-being, I think we should get that wall.
Jeffrey Spears has lived on this street for 30 years, but for a long time, he didn't know where exactly to turn. That was until Sally Ward moved next door.
It didn't make sense that there wasn't a wall here.
She reached out to everyone you could think of.
Initially, I reached out to VDOT, and I got a lot of song and dance from them.
VDOT's response was that they had already done a noise study in the area in the 80s before this neighborhood was even built.
Then I reached out to the city.
This is the city's response. When I got in touch with VDOT, they declined an on-camera interview, but they did answer some questions via email, saying, quote, noise barriers are only evaluated as part of qualifying federally funded Type 1 projects, which typically involve significant changes to roadway alignment. At this time, there are no qualifying Type 1 projects scheduled for construction in the vicinity of this neighborhood. Adding that, quote, installation of a sound wall when there is no qualifying Type 1 project would constitute a Type 2 or retrofit project, and the Commonwealth Transportation Board's state noise abatement policy does not provide for retrofit noise abatement action, nor is there a funding mechanism in place, end quote. Residents disagree.
And then I started reaching out to the state delegate's office.
Why was it so important for you and your team to sit down with VDOT and hear their perspective on things and hear where they are in this process?
You know, subdivisions are going to be built, you know, near highways, but we just can't just say, well, it was built after. There's nothing that we can do. And so that's what we're going to be looking forward to next General Assembly session, is introducing legislation to try to take care of that.
Delegate Michael Fagan says he's ready to explore other avenues. And it didn't stop there. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine also got wind of the ongoing issue.
Since residents live in homes along I-64, and could a wall like that be federally funded?
The latter answer is yes.
And here's why.
Infrastructure projects of that kind are eligible. As far as I know, there hasn't been a funding request to our office that I have been made aware of.
Over time, the interstate has expanded. Trees have been torn down, exposing these families, some of which are disabled veterans suffering from PTSD, to possible danger. The issue affects drivers on I-64 too.
The boys are playing football and they throw a long ball too far, then it goes over the fence and into the highway. That could be catastrophic.
So what's next?
The next step is going to be us drafting up the legislation.
The start of a process.
I've heard a lot of no's and a lot of no because. I think the city needs to transition that to a yes and.
30 years in the making.
Delegate Fagan expects to have the legislation drafted prior to the upcoming session that starts in January, and we will continue to update you on any developments. Markeshia Jackson, 10 on your side.